Entergy is proud to support programming on LPB and greener practices that preserve Louisiana.
The goal of our environmental and sustainability initiatives really is to ensure that our kids and future generations can be left with a cleaner planet.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.
Food insecurity has been a long-standing challenge.
The struggle to have food on the table.
We're just amazed how far we have come.
But Lake Charles still has a long way to go.
It's just a matter of who can get their vote out.
Runoff elections and voter turnout.
You got to have those nonprofits fill in the gap.
Giving Day 2020.
Hey everyone, I'm Moreau. Much more on those top stories in a moment on this week's edition of SWI. But first, the latest coronavirus numbers in our state. Those hospitalized for COVID-19 shot up 22% this week in Louisiana. This as state health officials are racing against the clock to get the first vaccine shipments in place. The governor also this week got word that the feds will continue to pick up 75% of the costs for the National Guard to help with aid with testing and also soon vaccinations.
Testing remains very relevant. In fact, it's as important today, probably more important today than ever, because we're in our third surge here in the state and around the country. And quite frankly, it has the potential to be much worse than either of the first two surges. And again, testing informs everything that you do in response to the pandemic. So as we look forward to the vaccine, we got to continue to block and tackle, if you will. That's the testing, and I think that's why Admiral Gerard is here today meeting with us.
The first vaccine, Pfizer, will go through the advisory committee on December 10th. Moderna will go approximately a week later. They could be authorized very shortly after that. The very good news is we expect about 20 million Americans to be vaccinated within this calendar year or sometime closely thereafter.
Frontline healthcare workers and those in nursing care will be the first to be vaccinated. Now, other headlines making news across our state.
Senator Bill Cassidy joined a bipartisan group of lawmakers behind a $908 billion coronavirus relief proposal this week. It got the backing of President-elect Joe Biden. More than a dozen members of the House and Senate rolled out the plan. It comes as COVID cases nationwide continue to soar, and time is running out for a long-stalled fifth relief bill. Cassidy says it would bring relief to those who need it the most. New unemployment claims across the state remain steady after an unexpected spike in mid-November. The state is investigating the spike for potential fraud. Almost 11,000 new unemployment claims filed through November 28th was up from just over 10,000 the week before. The governor announced plans by Ochsner Health to develop a super clinic of comprehensive health care in Metairie. A former Sears store at Clearview City Center would be converted into a clinic and micro hospital. It would serve as an anchor for the $100 million redevelopment of the center. Farmers in 21 North and Central parishes may qualify for low-interest loans to cover losses from Hurricane Laura in August. These are parishes in addition to those already in the disaster declaration. The LSU Ag Center says the storm caused more than $1.6 billion to agriculture and forestry in the state. Work to clear Port Fourchon's Belle Pass shipping channel continues. Sediments pushed into the waterway by hurricanes made the water too shallow for some ships to safely pass. The $2.1 million project should be completed the first week of January 2021.
At holiday time, people often complain about eating too much with plenty of food to go around. Those hungry in our state would love such a dilemma. Feeding Louisiana says the average of those not sure about their next meal is up during this pandemic year. A shocking 1 in 3 children and 1 in 3 elderly food insecure. I talked with Korey Patty of Feeding Louisiana.
In terms of food insecurity across the state, we're still in a dire situation as it relates to hunger, food insecurity, and food shortages in the state. I think pre-COVID, we're looking at some critical numbers where food insecurity has been a long-standing challenge in Louisiana for seniors, for children, for the overall population. But what we've seen over the last, call it 9 months now, is an increase in those numbers where, we were close to 1 in 5 seniors or 1 in 5 children that experience food insecurity. Those numbers have grown. There are more folks who lived on the fringes of poverty or food insecurity that have fallen into difficult situations related to being able to put enough food on the table.
Also, with schools being open or maybe back to remote learning, that's been a problem too, because a lot of children get a meal a day from schools.
One of the things that we look at as it relates to food security is knowing where your next meal might come from. And it's a bit unfortunate that there are a number of children across the state who are forced to rely on the school system, but that is stability for them. If that's going to school and receiving breakfast to start the day, making sure that those students receive lunch, maybe they get a snack after school through some programs managed by the state and federal programs and such. But if those programs, if those meals aren't available to those children, it's just another question mark in their lives and the lives of those parents and those families about how to put food on the table, how to keep our children fed.
What can be done right now?
Folks need to feed themselves and their families today. The food bank network is the best avenue to be able to do that. Our 5-member food banks work with partner agencies in all 64 parishes, operating distributions and such, so that folks can pick up groceries and put food on the table today. We also focus on that longer term intervention, looking at advocacy and policy and what are the changes that need to be made to consider improving the social safety net, so that if folks fall into that hard time, they have access to strong programs that help them to feed themselves and their families. Our 5-member food banks across the state, and they are always in need of donations, both of money and food, and then time too, as it relates to volunteering. There's a lot of work that has to be done always around the holiday season that we're into right now. So I would encourage people to reach out to their local food banks. I think our inventory situation is fairly stable at this point. One of the things that we're looking at, and there are some concerns about, is the approaching commodities cliff of USDA commodities. So there are some federal programs that are sunsetting over the next couple months that might introduce some instability into the network, especially as it relates to being able to meet the increased need that our folks are seeing. So hopefully, we'll be able to work with our congressional delegation, work with USDA at the federal level to be sure that those items that our food banks need and have relied upon over the last year to meet the increase related to the pandemic and hurricanes and such, make sure that those commodities are still available for our distribution. A large, prominent program within the food bank network is the Emergency Food Assistance Program. We call it TFAP. And I think a lot of people, when it comes to mind, is like government cheese or something like that. But the commodities that the USDA is able to distribute through the network of food banks across the country is a lot of good food. It's kind of those staple grocery items. More food has been directed into TFAP over the last couple years. And at this point, what we expect to see is that come to an end over the next couple months. So, the drawdown of that food again, kind of paired with a significant increase in demand and need across the country, could be fairly devastating for our network of food banks. So much of our work is talking to these policymakers and decision makers about what is happening on the ground, and then the inputs that we need from partners, if those are private partners, funders, donors, volunteers, whoever it might be, but also the public sector. And I think one of the things that we know and have to communicate is that the charity sector cannot do this and respond to what the food insecurity situation on the ground is alone. So we need strong public programs, we need strong public partners to chip in to respond to the need. There needs to be a focus on how do we transition folks from a chronic food insecure situation to one that is more secure and more stable.
Our thanks to Korey Patty of Feeding Louisiana. More than 3 months after taking a blow from 2 powerful hurricanes, recovery in Lake Charles continues. I talked with Mayor Nick Hunter for an update.
On the city's most prominent building, the 22-story Capital One Tower, wooden boards have replaced the windows blown out from Laura's 150-mile-an-hour winds. The downtown structure remains the biggest reminder of what happened August 27th. Engineers remain perplexed that the storm took out so much glass, especially on the upper levels. On thousands of homes, blue tarps still cover roofs damaged. It's evident recovery will take time, yet the message from Mayor Nick Hunter is one of hope.
When I wake up in the morning and I get ready for work, I have more things that I am optimistic about and energized about than things that I am pessimistic about and worried about. And that is very different than it was a couple days after Hurricane Laura. We have strides to make. We have a lot of progress to make, and we have a long road in front of us. And there are still a lot of citizens who are without a home, who are still picking up the pieces, and there's still a lot of pain and a lot of suffering of those citizens here in Lake Charles. But I think we can also acknowledge the progress that has been made and the strides that we have made. And when I speak with locals, the majority of the message that I get is we're just amazed how far we have come. Just as a comparison between Laura, which was a Category 4, to be followed up then by Delta, which was a Category 2 6 weeks later, we are today further along, and we have picked up more debris 3 months out than we did in a full 11 months out from Hurricane Rita 15 years ago.
What's the reason for the faster pace of cleanup?
Well, I think that a lot has been learned in 15 years. The way that those debris contracts are awarded, they are pre-positioned. They are typically awarded annually to prepare in case you receive a storm. That way you're not scrambling after an event to find a contractor and mobilize them and bring them in. We put our debris contractor on notice a couple days before the hurricane hit, and they knew that this was going to be a monster of an event.
Where are utilities now? Power.
I have great words and great remarks to say about our electric utility, Entergy. I truly believe they moved mountains and performed miracles. They had thousands of workers and trucks pre-positioned, ready to strike immediately after the storm passed.
Entergy had to rebuild the city's power grid. Price tag $1.7 billion. The water system took a beating.
There were some in my administration who thought it might be months until we would have potable water throughout the city of Lake Charles because of the massive amounts of damage done to our water plants and the hundreds of breaks in our water lines due to trees falling over. I think our water department performed miracles in helping to put those plants back together and fix those breaks. And here we are today. Boil advisory was lifted about a month and a half ago, and every corner of the city has water with very decent pressure, probably at the level before the hurricanes hit. One area that has been disappointing and with regard to utilities, and that is our internet provider and our major cable provider. And that's a company that I believe has left a lot to be desired in their response.
Suddenlink is that company. The city is talking with other providers about coming into the region.
What's the psyche like there?
If there was any community that could get through 2020 with everything that has been thrown at us, pandemic, economic downturn, social unrest, and two major hurricanes, Lake Charles is a community that can get through that, and we are getting through that.
Still, the mayor says as many as 5,000 people in the city are out of their homes, and more parish-wide. The business and industry outlook?
My administration has daily phone calls with different industries. At this point, we've probably spoken with 20 or 30 of the major employers here in Lake Charles, and every single one of them has said, we are committed to rebuilding. We are committed to the recovery. We are not pulling out of Lake Charles, and that's really good to hear. Long term for the city of Lake Charles, I think we have to continue to focus on diversifying our economy. We cannot put all of our eggs in one basket. The petrochemical industry has been good to us over the last few decades, but in recent history, we have expanded our economic base into gaming, into Chenault and the aeronautic industry. The Port of Lake Charles continues to be a major economic driver. Our pipeline system is not something that can just be picked up and relocated somewhere else. When I look around Lake Charles, I see buildings that are damaged. I see piles of debris, no doubt about it. But these are things that can be fixed. These are things that can be rebuilt, and we can do it better, and we can rebuild to be more resilient and stronger. And that's our focus right now. Our focus is bouncing back, and I want future generations to look back at this moment and say they got it right.
We will continue with our update on the hurricane-battered region next week on SWI. One thing could be election exhaustion that will make for a low voter turnout Saturday, December 5th. The Secretary of State's office expects only about 20% of Louisiana registered voters to turn out. I talked with Greg Hilburn of USA Today Network about the race to replace Congressman Ralph Abraham.
What does a low turnout mean for this race?
It's unclear. It will make it closer than it would have. Either way, it makes everybody nervous because you don't know how it's going to impact the race. We've got two Republicans, of course, so they primarily have the same kind of views. It's just a matter of who can get their vote out. It's going to depend on turnout, absolute turnout.
And of course, this is a district that's kind of goes all over the place. North Louisiana, Moreau, and Alexandria primarily, but it goes over to the Florida parishes too.
It's the biggest geographical congressional district in the state, 24 parishes, Andre. So, over a third of the state as far as land mass. Moreau and Alexandria are like you said, the population hubs, but it goes almost touches Baton Rouge, St. Francisville. It goes all the way to Bogalusa in the parishes. It's a meat. This is the governor's congressional district, actually.
Okay. Now, Luke Letlow, former Abraham chief of staff, is this his first foray into politics and going up against a politician, Lance Harris?
His first foray into elective politics. He has worked in politics for most of his career in public service, starting first with former Congressman John Cooksey. He worked then with Governor Bobby Jindal, and then he ran Congressman Abraham's campaign 6 years ago and has been with him as chief of staff ever since.
Worked in politics, but not been the politician, not been in the position. So how do people view that?
He hopes they view it as that he has the experience to work in Washington. Like he says, he wants to hit the ground running on day one. They don't need on-the-job training. So he's actually saying he has experience, not as an elected politician, You know, he's taken credit for a lot of the policies and accomplishments of Congressman Abraham, who he worked shoulder to shoulder with. But of course, Representative Harris says, wait a minute, you're no Congressman Abraham. You've done, this is all Congressman Abraham's work. You can't slide in on his coattails.
It hasn't been the friendliest runoff campaign. If you look at some of the ads.
It hasn't. To distinguish themselves, because they're both Republicans and will probably, whoever's there will vote the same, will have similar policy ideas, will have similar votes. So to distinguish themselves, they went negative primarily after the primary election, and they each have run some negative advertising both on television and direct mailers. Basically, Representative Harris is saying that Luke Letlow has been on the government, dole his whole career. He's never done anything outside of politics. Whereas Luke Letlow says that, well, you're saying you're not a politician, but you're in your third term. You voted for the biggest tax increase in Louisiana history. You voted for, you sponsored bills that helped your own business. So they're both kind of pecking at each other pretty good.
Okay. So is there a feel of who is the favorite here?
I don't know that there is between the two of them because, like I said, it's an all GOP runoff. Now, the demographics generally favor the candidate in northeastern Louisiana because that's where the highest population center is, in Moreau in northeastern Louisiana and Ruston. Whereas Lance Harris is from the Alexandria, the second largest population. So just the demographics in the past have favored the northeastern Louisiana candidate. This is the last undecided congressional race, House race in the nation. The last election for a House of Representatives. Now, as you know, there are some senators still battling in Georgia, but this race hadn't got that much of attention because it doesn't affect the balance of power since both are Republicans.
Thanks, Greg. In East Baton Rouge, the runoff for mayor between incumbent Sharon Weston Broome and Steve Carter awaits voters. Tuesday was World Giving Day, and the Capital Region put together an ambitious initiative for nonprofits with 225 Gives. LPB took part. How did things go? Well, I talked with Ethan Bush, project manager for 225 Gives.
With a really tough year in 2020, we were blown away by the results. We've raised just over $2.7 million in a 24-hour giving campaign, and I think that is phenomenal. And of course, as we look around, it's our first year. We had aggressive goals. We wanted at least 200 nonprofits to believe that this was worth their time to participate, and they did that. We were able to meet them with $500,000 in our challenge fund, which was our prizes and proportional share that they'll take home on top of what they raise. And then they went to work. They put their strategies in place. They created their social media campaigns. They went to community, and community stepped up. So $2.7 million to be right now at the end of this year going into 2021 for those 200 plus nonprofits is fantastic.
When did the planning of this event begin? Was it something that grew as the difficulty in the year grew?
You know, it did. And over the summer, some of the local funders like the Wilson Foundation started to survey a lot of the nonprofit leadership and just confirming what they knew was happening. And so in the late summer, and I would say in the late August timeframe, we came together and said, can we pull this thing off for December 1st? And so representatives from BRAF, representatives from Capital Area United Way, the Wilson Foundation, myself, I came in to participate on the planning team, and we put it together, and it was a coordinated effort. These giving days sometimes are run around the country year-round, right? They're planning year-round, and we saw the need, and those groups stepped forward, and it's just a really incredible team effort to be able to get to December 1st and to be able to execute that event the way that it was executed. A lot of times people forget a nonprofit can keep its doors open one way, and that's through philanthropy, right? There's not a lot of fee for service for what they do. What they raise are the resources that they can go extend their mission. And so when their fundraising is down 40+%, it gets real tight, but yet they've kept their doors open. They've made sacrifices. They've stepped into that space. And you and I know good communities in our state and good communities and especially in the capital region here, you got to have those nonprofits fill in the gap. We are committed, those organizations that we've talked about that are presenting this, our local funders are committed to seeing this be an annual event. And so we're going to push forward and hopefully have that grow in the capital region. I mean, we talked about Give NOLA earlier and Shreveport and Lafayette. They've been doing theirs a few years now, and that continues to grow for them. So we're thrilled with our first year efforts. We're also thrilled that we may have a little more planning time for our 2021 event, and hopefully we'll see 100 more nonprofits participate next year.
And everyone, that's our show for this week. Remember, you can watch anything LPB anytime, wherever you are, with our LPB app. You can catch LPB news and public affairs shows, as well as other Louisiana programs that you've come to enjoy over the years. And please like us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For everyone here at Louisiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Andre Moreau. Until next time, that's the state we're in.
Entergy is proud to support programming on LPB and greener practices that preserve Louisiana.
The goal of our environmental and sustainability initiatives really is to ensure that our kids and future generations can be left with a cleaner planet.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.